Welcome to this session of Life Goals. We're taking a look at the fruits of the Spirit, how they are a help for us to grow in our character, to become more Christ-like. And this week we come to the fruit of kindness. That's really not my favorite fruit. It just doesn't sound that strong for some reason to me. But I want to take a look at it because it's one of the fruits that we're called to grow in. Now, you may have noticed that our society doesn't seem to value kindness at the moment. It doesn't happen in the rhetoric that we see on TV. It doesn't happen definitely online. Check out any comment section and on any blog post or any Facebook post, and you will find not kind things being said, and it happens on a routine basis. We don't specialize in kindness. Maybe it's just not our thing. Although most of you are probably kind when you're dealing with people face to face. In fact, this is a pretty kind community in a pretty kind town, and often we hope that we're a kind church. My wife grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. People there are usually pretty kind. I mean, that's one of their values, sort of that southern friendliness. She moved to New Jersey to go to seminary many, many years ago. And I'll never forget the first few days she spent there. She came in just noticeably upset. And she said to me, "Kaz, what is going on?" I could tell she was broken and hurt. And I was like, "I don't know. What do you mean?" She said, "People here just don't like me." "What do you mean they don't like me?" "Well, they're honking at me. They're not saying hi to me on the street. They're kind of rough and gruff." I had to laugh. I had already been in New Jersey a while, and I got it. That place definitely doesn't specialize in kindness. Now, when we take a look at the biblical value of kindness, it's something that goes beyond just the surface, beyond just sort of the niceties of saying hello. And yet I think even that might be part of it. When we look at this biblical concept of kindness, the writers of Scripture were actually talking about an attribute that had often been written about God. God's loving kindness, Scripture would say. When they described God, they would describe him as kind, as someone who saw us with value because he created us. God who saw the world with great value because the world was his masterpiece. He had created it. In one place in Scripture, we're called God's poem. That's a favorite of mine. I talk about it all the time. But that's a way of understanding God's kindness because God saw us for who he created us to be. And so we see throughout Scripture written notices of God's loving kindness and notices of God's kindness towards us. And so we're to be kind. Well, what does that look like in day-to-day life? How do you live out kindness? You know, there are kind of two great enemies of kindness. There's an author out of Biola University named Barry Corey, and he writes about this specifically. He talks about the one side of kindness, a great enemy of kindness is what we might call meanness or aggression. Now, it's rooted in a biblical value, and that's a biblical value of truth. You know, Scripture tells us that we're to speak the truth. And truth is about boundaries. And truth is about having things correct. And yet, when we're all about boundaries, when the most important value to us is correctness, this can come across as even meanness or definitely the absence of kindness. Now, this can be what Christians are known for. Now, none of us, none of you, I'm sure, but other churches in other places, they're known for their correctness. They're known for majoring in truth. They're also known at times to be kind of mean, to be anti-everybody, to be known for what they're against. And Scripture's real clear. This doesn't make sense. While we're to hold to truth, Scripture says we're to hold to truth in love. We're to speak truth in love. See, there's a balance there. And so this author, Corey, he says, you don't just hold to truth. You can't do it. That's an enemy of kindness. It's meanness. It's aggression. But on the other side, there's another great enemy of kindness. And while most of you probably aren't going to fall on the mean side, I mean, I don't know. You can look at the people around you and decide maybe one of them's mean, but most of you don't fall there. On the other side, though, is this other great enemy of kindness, and that is niceness. Now, niceness is a word that we might use interchangeably with kindness, but he argues niceness is different. Niceness has all the pleasantries, but no soul, no core, no groundedness, no centered truth. And so he says niceness, that's the other great enemy of kindness. Kindness instead holds to truth, but it does it in love. It engages people in love. So for us, this is a goal. This is a great Christian virtue that we can work towards. That we would be people who hold to truth in love. That we would be people who approach those around us every day and in every situation with kindness. Now, let me tell you something else about kindness. Kindness is not quid pro quo. Kindness is not an economic exchange. I have 4 kids, as many of you know, and each one are different. And I think some of them are born just seeing the world with this sense of kindness. At least in my clan, we have a few of those. But others kind of see the world in an economic way. And there's something brilliant and beautiful about that. Now, I celebrate that in them. But their tendency, and probably really, if I was honest, my tendency, is to see everything as an exchange. It's quid pro quo. I'll be kind to you if you deserve it. I'll be kind to you if that can help move a situation forward or if it can better my situation. That's when I'll be kind to you. But true kindness doesn't look at things that way. Instead, it says, I'm going to be kind to you because of who you are and because of whose you are. You see, you're a child of God. Every person that I meet is a daughter or a son of God. And he loves them dearly. He created them. He has a plan for their life. And they have a story. And they're going through some situation at that moment. I don't even know what it is, but God does. God knows everything about them. God values them way more than I can even value my own self. And because of that, I'm going to show kindness. Sometimes I get frustrated. I know that none of you do, but I do at times. And every once in a while, the people around me, often Cammie, will have to remind me, hey, Pastor, maybe we shouldn't get so upset at the poor checkout guy. I know that he didn't know exactly what he was doing or he messed up your order, but he's a nice kid, probably. He probably has a story and a lot going on in his life. Hey, Pastor, maybe you shouldn't talk that way. Now, those are good reminders for me. This reminder of being kind is actually something that's really hard to do. It's not niceness, but it's also not meanness. It's respecting people for who God created them to be. It's approaching them that way. It's doing it in relationship. It's holding to boundaries, but having those boundaries in love. So what does that look like for you? What would it look like if you worked on kindness? If you just did a little kindness check this week, how you doing there? Think through your online interactions. How's kindness going for you? Think through your interactions with people around the community and the neighborhood, and the folks that frustrate you. Can you move towards kindness with them if you're conscious of it this week? What about your own family? What would it look like to focus a little bit on kindness? I know this is something that I need to grow in.